Watch this video to complete the workbook page, A Day in the Life of EGB Mouse, from the My First Piano Adventure Level C writing book. Let's get ready to begin. Please take out your writing book and open it to pages 16 and 17. You will also need something to write with, like a pencil or a pen. This is our workbook page for today. Have you learned about Mr. EGB Mouse from the other book yet? We see Mr. EGB at the top of this page riding a unicycle. This page is called A Day in the Life of EGB Mouse. Let's find out what it's all about. Let's look at EGB's reading rule. It says from one line to the next line is a skip on the keyboard. Mr. EGB is built out of line-to-line skips, and his home is inside of the treble clef at the bottom. You can see him written right here at the top of the page. When we write a skip from line to line, we are also skipping both a letter name and a finger. For the first exercise on this page, we're going to write EGB's name for each of the examples that is in this section. Let's start with the hearts. The bottom heart already says E, so we just need to write the rest of his name in the other two hearts going up. E, G, B. Now we're going to make the cheese look exactly the same. So starting at the bottom with E, and then moving up from there in the next two cheeses, G and B. And lastly, we'll move on to the balloons and make them look the same too. And everything in the first activity is done, so we'll check it off complete. We're going to move on to the second activity now. In the second activity, we're going to look at each staff to see if it has EGB's name. Where it does not include EGB's name, we're going to draw an X over it. Now, if it has EGB's name, it's going to look just like the ones we wrote above in the hearts, fish, and balloons. So let's take a look at the first one that is down here. Does it look like the ones we wrote? It says E, G, B, moving from the bottom to the top. And that's exactly like the ones that we wrote. So you can draw a circle around that one. It is EGB's name. Now let's take a look at the second one. Does this one look correct? This one says from the bottom to the top, G, E, B. Is that right? No, it's not. We will go ahead and draw an X through it. Does the next one look correct? Does it look like the ones that we drew right above here? Yes, it does. This one is correct. You can draw a circle around it. How about the next one? This one says EGG. That is not correct. Go ahead and draw an X through it. We have just one left. Does this one look like it is correct? Yes, it does. You can go ahead and put a circle around this one. You are done with activity 2 now. Let's go ahead and check it off. Moving on to the next page, the third activity asks us to shade the EGB keys on the keyboard at the top of the page. And then after that, we're going to connect each of the notes underneath it by the staffs to the correct key on the keyboard that they belong to. Okay, let's look at this keyboard. To find E, we need to skip up from C, and then we'll skip up 2 more times on the keyboard to get G and B. Let's shade in each of our 3 target keys. Now we're going to take a look at the note names on the staffs underneath the keyboard. The very first note name off to the left there, would it be E, G, or B? That's right, it's E. Draw a line to connect it to the E on the keyboard. What is the next note? It's not on the bottom line, it's on the next line up. This note is a G. Next, draw a line to connect that note with the G on the keyboard. Work with me as I complete the last 3 notes here. And this is how it should look when it's complete. We're ready to place a check mark next to Activity 3. It is all done. Let's move on down to Activity 4. Activity 4 tells us to circle all the skips, and it gives us a hint that there are 4 of them. EGB Mouse is line-to-line skips, so we're going to look at each of these examples to see if they are moving from a line note to a line note. Let's start with the first one. Looking at both of the notes in this example, I can see lines crossing in the middle of them. So I'm going to write L under each of them because they are line notes. And this is a line-to-line skip, so I'm going to circle it. Look closely at the next example. Do these notes look like they have lines crossing through them? Well, the first one does, so we are going to put an L underneath it. But the second one is all empty inside. There's no line going through that. That's a space note. And this is not a line-to-line skip. Let's take a look at the next example for clues. Now, remember, we are looking for line-to-line skips. So if there's 2 line notes, it is a skip. These are quarter notes, so it's a little bit more difficult to see if there's a line in them. We can look to the sides of each of the note heads to see if there's a line coming in and out of it. What do you think? Is the first note a line note or a space note? How about the second? They are both line notes, so we are going to draw a circle around this one. This is a line-to-line skip. Work along with me to finish the next 3. Great job. Let's check off number 4 because it is complete. Now we'll move down to our last activity for this page, number 5. Draw a skip up or down from these notes and make sure that the line goes through the middle of the note. Now we're going to look above each note that we see, and there's an arrow that tells you whether you're supposed to go up or down a skip, and we're always going to make sure that that line is right in the middle of the note that we draw. That's right, there's going to be a line in the middle of every note we draw because we are doing line-to-line skips. First one was an example. Looking at the arrow above it, we can see that it asked us to go up a line. So they looked at the line that the first note was on and they moved up to the very next line and drew a note around it too. Next one is for us to do. It has an arrow pointing down, so for this one, we are supposed to go down to the next line. We're going to put our pencil on the first note and then move down to the very next line and draw a little dot there so that we remember which line to draw the note around, and then draw the note around it. The next example has an up arrow. The only difference between this example and the one that we just did is that when we move from the first note, we're going to go up to the next line. We have a dot on the line that we targeted, and so now we're going to carefully draw a note just around that line. Work on the last 2 with me. Great job. Now that activity 5 is complete, let's go ahead and put a check mark on it. You have now completed all of the activities for this workbook page. You worked really hard and you learned all about writing EGB on the staff. Great work today.